Hey everyone, welcome to the Shawl Studio Buzz podcast episode 53. My name is Doug and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in New Mexico, and this is a podcast about knitting and all the woolly things, and also where I talk a little bit about the yarns of my little shop, my little yarn company, Shawls. What can I talk to you about? Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. I have finished my early bloomer, this gorgeous pattern from Heidi Kermeyer. I finished it really shortly after recording the last podcast because I just couldn't wait to get this done, and I wanted to try it on and wear it. And this is a time of the year where it really works well. I've taken it on an outing the other day to the post office, and I was warm, but it was fine. I felt like, oh hey, this is warm here. I can take the breeze on my sleeves. This is New Mexico. Yes, let me show you. It turned out short as I expected. And let's see how this goes. But it's just right. I just got to make sure that my pants don't go down, because nobody wants to see my stomach. I have used Shawl's yarn, and it was a funny story. If you watched this before, you know I'm not the color work person, but then I thought, oh, this yarn, I could make a color work sweater, and that's how it all started. I held together a discontinued Shawl's non-superwash merino DK weight with a fingering yarn that I dyed to match, because woolly tickle in the nose. Ooh. Because I wanted to get gauge, I needed more substance, and so that worked fine. And also for the pattern in the yoke, I held it with I also held two yarns together, and that's just, I love how it turned out. Let me think about what you don't know yet. So I had already finished the neckline and wanted to, I was not happy with that had turned out, so I knew I wanted to make changes. And what I did was I started with the sleeves. I don't think I was quite finished with the body, and that's when I worked the sleeves, and I did my ribbing 5 rounds or 4. Didn't even read the instructions. 4 rounds of a 1x1 rib, and then 1 round in the pink. I had originally held this pink yarn double, which created a ropey edge, which I didn't like at all. So here, just one strand of yarn, 1 round in a 1x1 rib, and then I cast off with all knit stitches, and that looked great. So I knew that's what I wanted to do for the neckline. I had originally also done a twisted rib, and I didn't like it. It didn't hold it together as much as I wanted. I found that it stood up a little bit here, so I knew I wanted to redo and try doing it with a normal ribbing. I did that, and I like it. I don't know, I'm leaning forward so you cannot really tell, but it's much nicer and much more flush around the neck, and that's good. And that's of course also how I did the bottom. Yep. Happy knitter indeed. What is next? I told you I was gonna start a pair of socks for my husband because I started all those other socks. I knitted one sock until just about after my gusset. I did the heel, I did the gusset, and then I guess on the next pair. And now I'm exactly at the same spot pretty much on this sock for my husband. This is Zia Wool's Taos, which is a superwash Corriedale. Super lovely yarn in a one-of-a-kind colorway. And I'm really excited about making these for him because he never had any socks in a hand-dyed yarn, but I think he would wear them because he wears the other ones, which are I think the ones that I made him last are the ones where I held two sock yarns together. So they're very much, not colorful, but still lots of colors in them. Darker and muted, but still colors. So I think he will like these. And I always make these with 2.5 millimeter needles, DPNs, as you can see. And all the other socks that I started, I did a 22 round ribbing, and for him I did 33 rounds, and it's usually a random number, whatever strikes my fancy, whatever I think I can remember well. Socks for the husband. What's next? Well, let's get it over with. I thought, well, I may have two sweaters to choose from for this episode, possibly, because I was really far in on the True Friend, and I realized that my row gauge was different than the row gauge given, so I needed even less rounds. I thought I still had a lot more to go because I counted those stripes, but I needed less because my row gauge was different. So great, I was happy. I thought, I'm gonna get this done soon. The sleeves are not very long. Also I had a friend who had knitted it recently, and she said, hey, don't worry, the sleeves are tight. It's gonna be, when you're done with the body, it's gonna go fast. Tight sleeves, because they kind of hold this oversized thing a little bit in place. All good. And then disaster struck. There was one thing where that I did not like too much, but I just did it the way the designer said. Where what I didn't like so much was that here I have 3 rows, and here I have 2 before I do the 3 needle bind off, which I thought was a little weird, and I wish I could have avoided that, but I didn't have the brain space. I knew it was coming. I mean, I saw it the way it was written, and I thought, well, whatever, I'm just gonna do it. And I mean, it's on the side, who cares? Beautiful otherwise. Got a little hole, which I'm just going to pull together later. I go to the other side and I'm at the end and I see this. My diagonal lines do not meet. I'm telling you, I was frustrated, I was angry, I was sad, all a mix of feelings, and I mean, most of all, so frustrated because I do not know where this comes from. I kind of glanced over this line, and I think I would have seen if I had missed an increase here. Also, it's 4 stitches off or so. Not just, I think 1 stitch I could have lived with, but 4, it's too much. Then I knitted a little bit more in the round. I thought I'm going to put it on and see how the sweater looks like. It looks great. My sleeve opening looks small. Like my friend said, it's not a big opening, but it's going to be fine. It was not too small. So I didn't even have the brain space or the patience to look over this, because what I'm seeing, what might come, is that I have to undo all the stripes and reknit the whole stripe section, because that's the only explanation. Maybe I picked up the wrong amount of stitches on the side. Oh, I am so frustrated. I tell you this is what I know right now. It went right after I figured this out. It went into the others on the other sofa, far away from where I sit and knit. And it was already in timeout. And that's where it will go again. Not on that sofa, but honestly, probably into a box or in my cedar chest or whatever. I'm not going to touch this for a while until I get over my frustration. Definite timeout. Definite timeout. And man, I'm so sad because the yarn is so beautiful and soft. This has a lot of silk in it, the Nuna by Mirasol, and also the yarn that I held it together with, this lace yarn, vintage stash. I talked about it before. Yeah, it's so frustrating. Let's see what happens. I will definitely let you know. Let's move on to more pleasant things, which is my bark lines in this case. I told you last time I had gotten another ball of yarn, or I was gonna get. Did I already have it last week? I got it, and from Jamie, the yarn store owner, and she even wound it for me. Sweet thing that she is. And so I started working on the beautiful shawl, which is going to be really big. And this is where I am. And I started working, I started working with the yarn that I had kept to cast off, just in case I would have to make do with what I had. And I've already knitted, I think, 4 more rows, and I still have yarn, so it does go far. And let me show you where I am right now on the edge with this edge. So this way. Last time you saw it, I was right here. So I had the tip of the iceberg here, this Mount Everest. And I thought, well, if all things fail, I have this tip and I can cast off. But of course, this would have been unproportionally small. And that's why I decided against it. And I reached out to friends to get more of the yarn. And indeed, yeah, now I'm so glad because already it looks so much better. Yeah. And now, as far as I remember, there will be 3 spots where the twisted knit stitches meet. So I have 1, then there's 2, and there will be the 3rd one coming soon. So I know I would not have had enough yarn, but I will not need a lot of this new ball of yarn. So very exciting. This reminds me, there's the Periscoping Sisters Mother's Day knit along starts today. I forgot about that. Do you all know about that? They've done it for a few years now, and this year they're doing it free because of what's going on right now. So that, oh my goodness, so many fun things. And I got a sneak peek. So beautiful. It's very, very nice. So I'm probably gonna have to knit that. What am I gonna do? I think I have yarn. Well, never a dull moment with this wonderful hobby, right? So, but finishing up the bark lines, 3.5 millimeter needles, living in one of my bags with the cats with the yarn. Yum. And what is next? Showed you the socks, showed you that. That was all the knitting. Do you believe it? And why is it all the knitting? Because I have been spinning like a mad woman. I told you last time about the technique that I like to use for a braid like this. I talked about it at the end of last episode. This was kind of ancient stash. And I started spinning it. I have to say, I spun a little sample and I was a little bit surprised that the staple length of this was not as long as I thought. It was more like this and not like, I don't know, it was just shorter than I thought. So, which made my spinning technique just a little bit harder, because what I'm talking about is spinning from the fold, and for that a longer staple length of the fiber is better, because what you do is you pull off about the staple a handful of the staple length in the staple length from your braid. You put it over your finger and you spin either from here or you hold it in your hand, which I prefer, like this, and again you spin from the fold. The advantage is a little bit more color, that you preserve the colors a little bit better and you don't get a mush up off your colors, which can be super disappointing when you have a lot of beautiful colors and all of a sudden they blend into this brown. So I did this little sample mini skein, and I love how it turned out, and I think you can very well see what I was talking about, because you have sections. It's a 2-ply yarn, and you have these sections where you can see, oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of more yellow, more just altogether more defined colors. Nice. But what called me was the spinning top that I had, or roving, that I had gotten from Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival 2 years ago, which came from Maureen of the Barefoot Spinner. I knew her from way back when we still lived in Maryland, and I was keeping my fingers crossed when I went to the festival that she would still be there, and I was so happy that she was. And of course, I bought some of her beautiful fibers. Excuse me. And what can I say? I spun it all 18 ounces last week. And it was such a joy. I plied the last bits just last night, so none of this has been weighed, no yardage count, no nothing. I spun this 2-ply. The fibers were still a little bit greasy, and which I really enjoyed very much. It also made for a very pleasant spinning, I thought, because I spun long backward draw, super fun. And I did a 2-ply yarn and a fairly fine, which has, of course, still a little bit of a fuzzy halo because of the spinning technique. And I love how you get these sections where it's more of a natural beige color versus the darker grayish brown. It's just so incredibly beautiful, and it makes me so super happy. I would think it's a fingering yarn. Who knows? It sure looks like it to me, but it's might be even at times a light fingering. And I'm thinking, if I'm making a garment, I will knit it top down to be able to use it all. But I'm thinking this might end up being a coat more than a cardigan. So fun and so lovely, and I'm looking forward to spinning more fibers from Maureen. The festival has been canceled, and I have been in touch with her, and she is stocking up fibers, so the plan is to get some more shipped here. So she has, but I'm sorry, she does not have a website. I'm not sure if it's okay to share her email address, but if you're super interested, let me know, then I'd be willing to ask her. And my email address, I'm going to put that on the screen here. So that's this wonderful stuff. It only said all wool, so I don't know what Maureen, if she purchases fibers and dyes them, but I believe for sure some of what she does is dyed and then shipped to the mill. She uses Zeilingers, whom I love, as you know, I've talked about them before. And so the cool thing is you can actually really tell them how you want it processed. So with this, I'm sure she said, give me the gray brown on the inside and the whitish soft on the outside. That's how it looks like. It's so cool. And I remember that from way back when, many years ago, that they can do that with their processing. Super fascinating. That's off the wheel. I have empty bobbins, so the next thing I will get to is this, which is, I'm going to get it out, Blueface Leicester over dyed, and it has, you can see it here. I feel like this must have been something with a brown beige that she overdyed in many colors. Don't have the name of this dyer, sadly. But I don't think she has a website. She's only at festivals also. Can't wait to spin this. But yeah, it has a lot of colors. It was too late last night. I was so I couldn't wait. I can't wait to try to spin this, but it got too late, so it didn't work out for last night. I'm looking forward to this, and I can't wait to see how this yarn is going to turn out with all these colors. Hope you can see a lot of glare here. Yep. And then, well, I have to put in a video right here for you because I had to capture some unboxing. Had my daughter film while I opened this fun box, and this is what I'm going to put in here. Was this fun? I loved it so much. I have bought another fleece from Cactus Hill Farm. I have purchased from them before, and I've met the owner several times. She came to Fiber Arts Fiesta in Albuquerque. She was at the Taos. She was in Taos at the Wool Festival last October, and now she's put her last fleeces from last year. She put them on sale, and I just couldn't resist. And let me grab the box. It is 10.5 pounds of sheep wool, unwashed and unprocessed, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. Oh, that was loud, sorry. This is from a merino cross sheep. I don't know what it is a cross with. And I will still have to wash this before I can actually process in any way, like either on my drum carder or with my wool combs, which I think I may do. But I pulled off a lock, and I wanted to show you what I'm going to do. A little bit of pre-sorting. I'm not a person who washes in locks. I'm just going to grab handfuls and put them in hot soapy water, transfer to do that several times, and never let my water get cold, because that would mean that the lanolin reattaches to my wool, which of course is not desirable. I will, before I get started, however, pick a little bit of dirt out of the wool. And I brought this log so you can see. So there's sometimes hay, grass, other dirt. And this, of course, will come off once I wash. Also, what I'm going to try to pick out ahead of time is stuff like this, which is short bits from second cuts where while shearing, there was a second cut, and you get these bits which of course you don't want in your fibers for spinning. I have 10.5 pounds, I believe, and I will not, of course, in the end, have this much. I don't know. I'm a horrible guess. I can't guess how much wool I will get from this. But all I know is that I'm going to have a lot of fun. Especially now when it gets warmer. I can be out here in my driveway and have the yarn, have the wool dry in the sun, and yeah, nowhere to go right now. So yep, I will make some masks soon, but probably later today. But otherwise, nothing but playing with wool on the schedule here for the next weeks. I have everything, because I told you about this before. I'm still going to mention it. All the yarns in my shop right now are on sale, which is my little way to support people who have to stay at home and to make it a little bit easier to purchase some nice yarn. And I continually add yarns to the shop. I do want to mention, however, be aware there may be shipping delays. I am not happy with that. Of course, I have no control over it. I did ship some yarn to Germany, and so sad that it just takes a long time, and people are sad and frustrated when they wait, but it's out of my control. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I'm doing my part to get it out as quickly as I can from my end, and just hoping that the post office can keep handling the volume of packages that they get, because I bet they're more busy than normal right now. So I have already put, I brought you a few skeins that I've just added in the last days to the shop, and also the ones that I've dyed just this week. And one of them. So these are some sun dancers that are new in the shop for 65 yards, and a superwash merino nylon blend. This is chipotle. All of these are in the shop, and in the next days I will add a little more, some more yarns. This is a one of a kind, and this is the colorway Fresh. Just a hint of speckles. And then I added a sugar loaf. This is Beekeeper in the Garden. And then here are the babies that I dyed this week. I love these guys. Green. Dark. They come all from the same dye bath, but this guy for some reason was a little bit darker. I don't know if it's only how I wound the skein or if it's all together. It looks like it's all together darker, but all so pretty. I love green, so I took one of these for myself. And then there are these. By the way, the sun dancer that I just showed you is a one of a kind lucky dog on, yeah, sun dancer, I said it. And this is my 2-ply 400 yards fingering weight merino superwash merino nylon blend. in a also a one-of-a-kind colorway, which I think turned out super pretty. Let me find one where you can see the variation nicely. Hot pink and orange. It's really nice. Love it. And gosh, I don't know, we're already at the end. I hope you are well. I hope you stay well. I hope you, if you don't feel good, that you're going to feel better, or that you're going to be healthy soon. And I'm going to see you again in about a week. And until I see you again, I wish you happy knitting. Bye.